Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Following on from Billy Joe Saunders, we can say it as is. We either say quitting or we say being retired by his corner. Either way, following on from that, a lot of people have been bringing up what Billy Joe Saunders said about Daniel Dubois quitting against Joe Joyce. Billy Joe Saunders basically said that you'd have to drag him out of the ring on a stretcher, etc., etc., before he ever quit. So a lot of people have been saying, well, you said that about Dubois, and a lot of other fighters said things about Dubois in the wake of him quitting against Joe Joyce. What do you have to say now? Daniel Dubois has actually come out and he's released a statement on this, and he says, I'm not going to rub it in for Billy. He's going through it now with the eye injury. Maybe he'll regret what he said about me. Maybe this might teach him a lesson. It could be a life lesson. End of quote. That's what Daniel Dubois had to say on the situation. Now, Daniel Dubois is a man of few words, it has to be said. I do find it ironic. I do find it ironic that both guys, in the build-up to their eye injuries, because both guys suffered eye injuries, that they made references to, essentially they made, not necessarily jokes, but they made references to other people's eyes. And what I mean by that is, Billy Joe Saunders said that if his eyes were gone, or worse to that effect, when Daniel Dubois quit, he wouldn't quit. Well, obviously, the situation came, and say what you want to say. Whether you want to say quit, whether you want to say pulled out of the corner, either way, he was pulled out. Daniel Dubois, for those who don't remember, said to Joe Joyce's mother, because her eyesight is either very bad or she's actually blind, one or the other, that you don't need to worry, you won't see what I'll do to your son. Worse to that effect. He made a reference to her eyesight. And I find that ironic on both occasions. Both guys ended up with eye injuries. I definitely, we're going a bit off topic here. I've always said this, I believe in karma, all right? And I believe it hits people in certain ways. And I believe that when you look at certain things that happen to people, when they say things or when they think things, it tends to hit them. I definitely believe whatever you say comes back to you, whether you mean it intentionally or unintentionally, it comes back. And I found that very just strange that Dubois would make a reference to Joe Joyce's mother and her eyesight, and he would end up with an eye injury. And likewise, Billy Joe Saunders making a reference to Dubois. Eddie Hearn has stated that Billy Joe suffered quite a bad injury, and a few people are coming out and saying, well, you said to Frank Warren, provide the evidence that Dubois had the injury, why don't you do it now with Billy Joe? That's fair. I'm not sure I think Frank Warren did provide the evidence that Dubois had I think it was an orbital bone injury, I forget exactly, I think it was nerve damage or something like that. But look, following on from this, Billy Joe was definitely going to have his surgery. I think he's already had it, and he's going to need time to recover. He is going to take a bit of a pasting from people in the boxing community. It has to be expected. He did say a lot of things. He did big himself up in the week coming up to this fight. He did say what he said about Dubois. So Dubois obviously is not going to say it. They're both trained by Mark Tibbs now. Although I wonder what Billy Joe will do if he does come back, if he'll be trained by someone else or not. Because Billy Joe has been with several different trainers. He turned pro with Jimmy and Mark Tibbs. Fought with them up until Andy Lee. And he was trained by Ben Davison for Akabah. That was the first time we ever seen Ben Davison. I think he was the assistant for Billy Joe prior to that. And then he moved to Dominic Ingle. In my opinion, Dominic Ingle, that Ingle style up there in Sheffield that Dominic Ingle teaches, that was when we saw the best of Billy Joe. He was probably in the best shape. Say whatever you want to say about that, but he probably was in the best shape of his career. He looked at his best when he was training up in Sheffield with the Ingles. I think that style and Dominic Ingle's approach worked well for Billy Joe. And I think the reason why certain fighters go to the Ingle gym and leave, quite soon, maybe after they suffer a loss, because say what you want to say about Ty and Boot, but he even said it himself. It takes time to learn what they teach you up there, with regards, some of the orthodox, the switch hitting and stuff like that. It takes time. And I think that Billy Joe was able to adapt that style fairly quick. And that's why I think Dominic Ingle is his best fit as a trainer. So if he does come back, I know we're going a bit off topics about trainers, but if he does come back, I'd be advising Dominic Ingle. I think that's the best I've seen Billy Joe, is when he's had Dominic Ingle in camp. He leaves Dominic Ingle, goes to Ben Davison, goes back to Dominic Ingle, leaves Dominic Ingle, brings in Mark Tibbs, and then has Ben Davison. A lot of change in there. There's a lot of stuff going on. That to me just doesn't... look, they always say you shouldn't be loyal to a trainer, and I get that, because they can continue their career, you can't. But when you're chopping and changing so much, I mean, Jesus, I'm not even going to say it, but I was going to say something, but I probably shouldn't, because YouTube might get a bit edgy if I say it, but I don't agree with going from one trainer. It's just a bit all over the place. I remember when Dubois quit against Joe Joyce, you had people like Carl Frampton ridiculing him, saying, we shouldn't quit, this, that, and the other. And I remember Andy Lee, I think it was on a BT show, coming out and saying, we haven't been in that. It's easy to say that if we were in that situation, we wouldn't do it. But the difference is we're not. And he's talking about not just the general public watching, certain fighters. There are certain fighters who've never had an orbital bone broken. There are fighters who've had swellings, all right, broken hand, but the adrenaline will get you through it. But the eye is very different. There are fighters who have kids who want to see their kids grow up, and then they say, oh, if that was me, I wouldn't quit. Would they do that if they were in that situation? Remains to be seen. I always, when I think of fighters, someone not wanting to quit, I look at, I'm a casual UFC fan, as many of you will know. But I remember seeing a fight where a guy was putting an arm bar and it was locked in, and rather than just tapping out, he let the arm almost get snapped before the referee ended up stopping it. And I was like, why? Was it worth not saying I tapped out to get your arm, mashed to bits? Was it worth that? It wasn't worth it. So with Billy Joe, whatever happens next, remains to be seen. But he is going to get some criticism for all this. I think Mark Tibbs will take some of that as well. But as Dubois said, it might teach him a lesson. And I'm sure Dubois, as I said, is a man of few words. I'm sure he'll probably think twice before, making a reference like he did to Joe Joyce's mother in the build-up to their fight. Given the fact that I do find it quite ironic that, and look, I'm telling you now, you give off those vibes like that, it can come back to you. Might not come back to you straight away, but it will. The fact that both Billy Joe and Daniel Dubois made reference to, someone quitting with an eye injury, and then, Joe Joyce's mother's vision, and they both ended up suffering eye injuries. It is quite ironic. And as I said, I genuinely believe that happens, I genuinely believe it. So that's what Daniel Dubois had to say. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd be interested to see what Billy Joe does from here, I like Billy Joe. I do enjoy watching him. I know his style when he's fighting guys like Martin Murray, it might not be the most compelling viewing, but I've always been a bit of a fan of Billy Joe. Now, I've criticised him plenty, and, if he comes out and says, it was a lucky punch, I wasn't even that hurt, again, I'll criticise him again. But for the most part, I've always liked Billy Joe. So whatever he does from here, remains to be seen, but, we'll see how it goes. In terms of this video, I'm going to end it here. Lads and lasses, I hope you enjoyed this video. We will do a live stream this evening. Obviously, it's Tuesday again, I'm recording it, but Wednesday again, this goes up. So, this evening, we'll have a little chat. We'll go live, we'll talk about a few things. Well, just, how we do. How the live streams do. I haven't done 2 in a week in a couple of weeks, so we'll see you then. For now, if you could, smash the like button. Crazy amount of growth the last few days. Literally, I hit 4K 2 weeks ago, and I'm already at 4,200. Absolutely crazy. So we could be on course to hit 5K by about summertime. That is crazy to think. So massive thanks to everyone for the support. I hope your day is going well, and if it's not, I hope it gets better. For now, lads and lassies, #GMansRocks. I'll talk to you.